having me. As was said, I'm a rabbi at Temple Israel. It's in West Bloomfield. I'm also a rabbi at the Jewish Hospice and Chaplaincy Network.
Yeah, we can't hear that.
I said I'm a rabbi at Temple Israel and also a rabbi at the Jewish Hospice and Chaplaincy Network. So I spend quite a bit of my time dealing with healing. But I'd like to go really quickly through kind of what Judaism believes in healing, and both Beth and I agree that the best way to understand that is to do a healing service. And so that is what we have prepared for you on your handouts. But what's important to understand about Judaism is, like most of Judaism, it has evolved over the over 5,000 years that it has been practiced. And our text, our songs, our communities have spanned time and space. From ancient text, when Moses says, El na rafan Allah, please God, please heal her, or his sister Miriam, all the way to the modern interpretations of ancient prayers like the Misha Berach, the one who blesses. And we will be singing both those songs. In Judaism, many of you might be familiar with the idea of a minyan. Most of our prayers have to be said in a quorum of 10. But when we come to the idea of healing, the idea of connecting with God in a space where you are asking for support and you are asking for healing, you can do that anywhere, in any language, at any time, silent or speaking. And so, interestingly, a lot of these prayers are very natural in our tradition. Many of our greatest commentators and writers were also physicians. So they were very connected with the body, with keeping the body healthy, and what to do when the body was not healthy, when the body betrayed us. And so prayers for healing can happen anywhere. They can happen at the bedside. It can be silent, anywhere, at any time. What's very important to understand is that in Judaism, there is no intermediary between the person and God. I, as a rabbi, am called at a wedding, for instance, Masader Kiddushin, which means I'm the organizer of the event. I can't marry the couple, they marry each other, okay? So it's the same with any kind of prayer. I am what's called a shaliach tzibor, a shatz. I'm the leader. I make sure everybody is confident in what they're doing, and if you're not, you look to me and I help you, okay? So what do our prayers ask for? They ask for strength to persevere. They ask for strength if you're giving care. Quite often in my work, I find caregivers that are absolutely exhausted and neglecting themselves. So we say it's okay to pray for yourself, and it's also okay to pray for yourself if you're giving care. It asks us to call upon the aspects of God that we believe are God as a protector, God as a healer, God as even a motherly figure. Judaism believes that there is a female aspect of God called the Shekhinah, and the Shekhinah might be a familiar word, some of you are shaking your head. The Shekhinah, we pray, is almost like a great healer, and we have often that you can rest underneath the wings of the Shekhinah. It's a safe place, it's a warm place, it's a place where you can rest from your illness. We do believe, though, that there is a difference between healing and cure. Sometimes, God willing, you can be cured. Sometimes you can't. But you can always heal. You can always make it through the illness in the best possible way you can. And that's not only through prayer, but around community. Like I said, most of what Jews do is in community. We're very big on not letting anyone be alone. At Jewish Hospice, our motto, our tagline is, no Jew should die alone. And we've done a very good job at making that happen. But it depends on your God concept. Some people believe that God can reach into your life and make things better and take away the illness, and then you're fine. Some people believe that God doesn't reach into history, but they still pray. And interestingly, in Hebrew, the word for prayer is lehipalel, which means to pray, but it's in the reflexive form, which means you're really acting upon yourself. Does everyone understand that before we go on? Okay, so when you pray, you're not only communicating with something greater than yourself, you're giving yourself strength. You're reminding yourself that there's something out there that's going to support you. You're reminding yourself that you will come through this. Maybe not with cure, but we pray with shleimut. It's the same word as shalom, shleimut, with wholeness, that you come out a whole person. The prayers, external rites and offerings, we do have the mikvah. The mikvah, it's a ritual bath. Some people go to the ritual bath after a chemo treatment, sometimes after a mastectomy, after miscarriage, after getting a clean diagnosis, a remission. And the mikvah is waters, living waters, and you are transformed. You come out something different than you came in. So we do have mikvah. We have the idea of changing your name. When someone is gravely ill, there is a tradition of name changing, because we believe that perhaps the Malach HaMavet, the angel of death, won't, it's like a trick. They won't find you if you change your name. And really, what is that? That's giving someone a boost, right? And often you pick a name like Chaim, life, right? Because when someone is gravely ill, it gives them the idea that there can be something more after this. I can be a new person. I can return to life. Often, too, one of the most powerful things about the name is saying the name. In one of the prayers that we will sing, you can say the name of the person who is ill. And in many congregations, the rabbi will look around, and when you meet the rabbi's eyes, you can say the name of the loved one who's ill. And it's very powerful to say the person's name out loud, because then it's real, and other people hear it, and they can join in your prayers for that person. I'm really self-conscious of this. I just came from our Purim carnival, so my daughter wanted me to get this painted on my wrist. So, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm really like, okay. So saying the name during the Misha Berach is very important, and the Misha Berach has become the centerpiece of many of our services. Some people come to services to say the Misha Berach. Involving religious leaders, like I said, I'm happy to pray with you. I'm happy to pray for you. We do have set words that you can say. Jews aren't always the best spontaneous prayers because we have liturgy. We have a set structure to our services, but we're getting better. And especially with the idea of healing, when you want to make it very personal for not only the person's situation, but their characteristics and what you might think might help make them feel better. If getting back to walking their dogs every day is what's going to heal them, I'm going to make sure I put that in the translation of the prayer that I say. And finally, before we get to our service, because I really like to do our service, is a personal experience with healing. I've had two major life-changing events in my life. My sister was severely ill 9 years ago. She had a heart tumor. And if anyone remembers the pump that Dick Cheney had, the heart pump, my sister had that. She's the only person at the University of Michigan Hospital to come off an LVAD and have not need a heart transplant. So I don't have time to go into the whole story, but needless to say, I relied on prayer because I felt that if I hadn't prayed, I would have fallen into an abyss. I didn't expect that anything was necessarily going to happen one way or another because I was praying. But without it, I would have completely fallen apart. That was the Lahit Palel. I was acting on myself. The second is when I was caring for my son, who, please God, his first birthday is a week from today. He came early, and he was in the NICU. And every morning when I went to feed him, we would go through the morning service. And I would pray the morning service with him. And then at night, when I was with him on the Sabbath, we would sing the psalms that Jews put together called Kabbalat Shabbat, the welcoming of Shabbat. We would sing together. And that's how I would wake him in the morning, and that's how I would rock him to sleep. And again, to me, that was bringing God into his little isolette. That was holding me up and saying, you can do this, you can do this, keep going, you can do this. And so I believe in the power of prayer, no matter what you think it's doing. Whether you think it's changing God or whether you think it's changing you, I believe in it. So if you have our healing service, I'm so lucky to have Beth Greenapple. She's tucked away over there. But this would be an example of what we as Jews would do. So entering a tent of healing, the Mishkan Refuah. Most of us know ourselves and others best when we are well. Most of us do not know ourselves or others when we are ill. As we enter into a tent of healing, Mishkan Refuah, We are overwhelmed by the utter lack of self-knowledge. It is if we are suddenly in a foreign land with no guide, new language, new environment, new relationships, all compound into a vulnerability that can boggle the mind, numb the heart, and frighten the soul. As we enter the Mishkan Refuah, it is important to realize that for many of us, this is a doorway we did not want to walk through, and yet here we are. It is important to look around, to explore the space, to grapple with the words, the feelings, the reflections that arise, so that we may hold the hand of those around us and be sustained by our soul's longing for support. One may have asked God for something which indeed came about by invoking a great sense of God, by way of distraction, momentary pulling the one who is ill out of her pain and suffering into a place of beauty and transcendence, by way of focusing more deeply on the pain or discomfort in the suffering of a person's life. In this way, prayer can deeply ground and clarify, by quieting or centering the self, by significantly connecting the one praying or being prayed for with the Jewish community and tradition, by helping the one praying or being prayed for to connect to a deep level of self, which is already healed and whole, reminding the person of his or her essential wholeness, by focusing the prayer on the blessings in his or her life, enabling him or her to magnify his or her sense of gratitude.